Hello students, I hope everyone is staying safe and doing well at home. The staff and the school authority of Sacred Heart Higher Secondary School has decided to go for online classes during this lockdown. So when we are all staying at home, we should also study and what is good for us. We should also focus on what we do every day in our daily life. So today I'll be taking lessons for class 12 Arts and Science on the subject Home Science. So today's topic will have chosen from food groups and selection of food, taken from the unit 2, chapter 1. So we all need food to stay healthy. So nutrition is the basic human need and is a prerequisite to a healthy life. A proper diet is essential for every stages of life, be it children, adults, or be it your grandmother or your grandfather. So we need a proper nutrition to stay active and also needed for maintaining the normal physiological functions of the human body, that is our body. So food consumption mostly depends on the production and the distributions of the food items, be it from the agriculture or be it from our own kitchen garden or be it from the agricultural practices. So the foods that we consume every day in our life plays a very important role. It determines the health and nutritional status of the population. It determines the nutritional status of us, of one person as an individual in the population. So we need to know what is a healthy diet, okay? So a good diet is important for our health. We all know that food is important for us, but we need to know what kind of foods we need to have and what kind of diets we need to follow. So a healthy diet is a must for every individual. So we need to understand what is a good diet. Let me take an example. Breast milk is usually given for babies, like right after the birth. So breast milk should be fed to the infant specifically for the first 6 months, because breast milk contains all the essential nutrients in it. So our human body needs breast milk during the childhood days, especially during the first 6 months of life. Let me take you an example. Like we take foods every day, but not all the foods, not one single food contains all the essential nutrients. So we need to take the food items in a variety. Then only our diet will be balanced. So if we take variety of food items in our day-to-day life, then we can see we are maintaining a healthy diet. So a balanced diet includes 5 food groups, which I will be talking later on about the 5 food groups. We will be discussed later on. So eating a balanced diet will help us to maintain in good health, and also it will help us to reduce the risk of diseases. According to the United States Department of Agriculture, they have recommended that half of a person's plate should have fruits and vegetables, and the remaining half of the plate should consist of grains and proteins. USDA has also, not only USDA, the Indian Council of Medical Research and the National Institute of Nutrition, which is in Hyderabad, has also recommended that in our daily food consumption, there should be at least 1 source of milk. So after knowing what a healthy diet means, we need to know what is a balanced diet. So a diet containing different kinds of foods in an adequate amount and in the right proportion in order to meet the nutritional requirement of our body, of a person, is called a balanced diet. So a balanced diet should provide about 60 to 70% of total calories should come from carbohydrates, and 10 to 12% should come from proteins, and 20 to 25% of total calories should come from fats. As shown in the pictures, we know how it has been described in our plate. So our plate should consist of fruits and vegetables, more of fruits and vegetables, and bread, cereal products. We have milk and dairy products also, and the foods that come from the fats and the sugars. And we also have meat, fish, egg, and egg products. So the foods that we consume every day in our daily life, be it lunch or be it dinner, our food plate should consist of all these 5 food groups. Then if we consume these 5 food groups in our daily food consumption, then we can call it or we can say that we are having a balanced diet. Along with the balanced diet, we should also know how much of nutrients are required by a person in our day-to-day life. So there where it comes recommended dietary allowances. So we should understand what is recommended dietary allowances. In short form, it's RDA. So RDA is mostly focused on the nutrients. So it is a nutrient-based approach where we need to know the nutrient value of a food items that is present in the food and how much of nutrient is required by a person. So the minimum amount of the absorbed nutrients for maintaining the normal physiological functions of the body is the amount, its nutrient that is required by each individual. So what is RDA? So RDA, recommended dietary allowance, is defined as the nutrients that is present in the diet satisfying the daily requirements by nearly all individuals in a population is defined by the Indian Council of Medical Research as recommended dietary allowances. So the recommended dietary allowances for every individual, for each individual differs from person to person. So the recommended dietary allowances depends on the age, on the gender, on your physical activity and on the occupation. So depending on the age and depending on the gender. So when we take an example from female and male, so their physical development, physical activity is different. So usually men will have a higher metabolism when compared to the women. So the energy requirement for men is different from the women. So as given an example, let us discuss about the protein requirement. The protein requirement for the children from the birth, for infant for 0 to 6 months is 1.8 to 2.3. The requirement of proteins for the infants between 0 to 6 months is 1.8 to 2.3 grams per day. When we see between the adult man and adult woman, the protein requirement for adult man in a day is 55 grams per day, and for adult woman is 45 grams per day. So depending on the age factor, gender factor, physical activity and occupation, the daily requirement of nutrient differs for each individual. So to have a balanced diet, to live a healthy lifestyle, we also need to know what kind of food groups are there. So the foods, as I said earlier, a single food item does not have all the essential nutrients. So we need to have a variety of foods. So foods have a varied amount of nutrients. So accordingly, the Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR, has suggested 5 food groups which we need to consider while planning a diet. A person who is cooking for the household, for the family, should consider the 5 food groups for the family meal, so that, or while planning a diet, so that after considering the 5 food groups in a diet, the family will achieve the nutrient intake as specified by the recommended dietary allowances. So there are 5 food group systems. The first the first food group is cereal, grains and products. That is the foods that we eat every day in our life. That's rice. Mostly in Manipur state, in northeastern states, we consume rice a lot. So that comes under cereal, grains and products like rice, wheat, ragi, bajra, maize, jowar, barley and wheat flour. And the main nutrients that is present in the food group cereals and grain products are carbohydrates, proteins, vitamin B1, B2, folic acid, iron and fiber. When we see the food groups, pulses and legumes, we can see the foods like Bengal gram, black gram, the dals that we consume every day, and the green gram, soya bean, lentils, red gram, and rajmas, beans, and soya bean. When we talk about the seasonal pulses nowadays, we can relate to beans and peas. So that is one of the pulses that we can consume in our everyday life, and the nutrients that we get from the pulses and legumes are carbohydrates, proteins, vitamin B1, B2, folic acid, iron, fiber and calcium. When we say the food groups, milk and meat products, when I say milk and meat products, I don't have to elaborate what kind of food comes under that, because everything is made out of milk and meat. Especially in Ukraine, we eat a lot of meat, especially on whenever we have functions or whenever we have festivals. So milk, curd, cheese, chicken, egg, liver, fish, meat, to name a few. And some of the main nutrients that are present in the milk and meat products are proteins, fat, vitamin B2, calcium, iron, potassium and vitamin A. When we see the food groups fruits and vegetables, there are so many kinds of fruits and vegetables, but to name a few, I've mentioned like apple, mango, pineapple, papaya, orange, water lemon, and sweet lime. We can also go for seasonal fruits that are available in our hometown, like we can go for bayberry during these seasons, which are rich in antioxidants, and it is sour, so and along with we can also go for like seasonal fruit, like locally available fruits like papaya, oranges and lemons. And then nowadays peach is on season, so we can consume fruits. Because of the lockdown, we might not be able to get imported or transported fruits, so we can opt for locally available fruits, which will help us to go for which will help us to obtain nutrients like carotenoids, vitamin C, fiber, folic acid, iron, vitamin B2 and calcium. We can also go for vegetables. When I say vegetables, there are two kinds of vegetables: green leafy vegetables, mostly of leaves, and other vegetables. When I say other vegetables, like it will be like potato, carrots, carrots, cauliflower, capsicum, cucumber, bottle gourd, ash gourd. All these vegetables will come under other vegetables. If we consume vegetables, mostly with leaf, that comes under green leafy vegetables. And nutrients like carotenoids, vitamin C, fiber, folic acid, iron, vitamin B2 and calcium are the few nutrients that we can get from the fruits and vegetables food groups. The last food group is fats and sugars. In fat, we have butter, ghee, cooking oil, groundnut, mustard, coconut and animal fats. And when it comes to sugar, we have jaggery and sugar, and we get nutrients such as energy, essential fatty acids, vitamin A and vitamin D. So these are the 5 food groups we should consider when planning a diet to have a balanced diet. There are certain factors that affect the food selection. So let us see what are those factors that affect in selecting the food items. So one of the bases of good nutrition or leading a healthy lifestyle or healthy diet is to have in mind that the food that we select every day in our day-to-day life should be selected in a proper way, so that it doesn't hinder the nutrient absorption or the requirement of the nutrients in our daily life. So to fulfill the nutritional requirement of a person or of the family, for the family, we need to consider we need to check it out what kind of food should be selected. So the factors that affects the selection of food is, the first point is family food values. Because of the geographical locations, because of the climatical conditions, religious beliefs and traditions, not all the places, not all the locations have the same climatic conditions. So depending on that, we have different kind of food system and food belief. Let us take an example. People in northern states of India, like Punjab or Delhi, they consume a lot of chapatis. They are fond of chapatis because in such places, wheat is produced abundantly. But when we consider the southern states of India and northeastern states of India, we consume a lot of rice, because rice is cultivated in these two parts of India. Another factor is family lifestyle. Depending on the lifestyle of the family, it affects the selection of the food items, which in turn will determine the nutritional status of our body. So depending on the family lifestyle, some families will be having 2 meals, some families will be having 3 meals, or some families will be having a complete meal like 4 meals, having breakfast, lunch, dinner, tea time. Some of the few families will have nighttime snacks or bedtime snacks or early morning snacks. So depending on the number of meals we take every day, and our food habits, whether we are vegetarian or non-vegetarian, affect the selection of the food items. The second point is availability of foods. So the availability of fruits and vegetables depends on the season. We say that seasonal fruits are nutritive and inexpensive. Mostly, non-seasonal fruits, like those fruits which are imported from other states of Manipur, are expensive. That doesn't mean that they are more nutritious. Equally, whether it is like seasonal or non-seasonal or locally available fruits and vegetables that we can get it within our state or within our district, that is equally nutritious like other foods. So, depending on how much of foods we can get, how much the foods we get, we should make use of it so that it doesn't affect our nutritional status. The third point is culture. Caste and culture affects the selection of food items. For example, in West Bengal, in the state, especially the Bengalese people, they consume a lot of rice and fish, so that is one of their food habit. And likewise, in southern part of India, like Tamil Nadu, they consume a lot of sambar idli in their meals as a diet. So, according to the caste, according to the states, according to the culture, the kind of food they eat affects the selection of the food items. Another point is religion. Some of the religions like Muslims doesn't take pork and Hindus doesn't take beef. So the food selection, the food habit, like whether they are vegetarian or non-vegetarian, affects the selection of the food items. And another point is, especially whenever we have functions or whenever we have auspicious occasions, we tend to eat a lot of non-veg. We tend to eat a lot of sweets, bakery items, pastries items. So depending on our food appetite and depending on the occasions or functions, our nutritional status matters a lot, our health status matters a lot. So the kind of foods that we select for such kind of occasions, we should consider what kind of foods we need to have so that our diet should be balanced and nutritional requirements should be met. The third point is economic ability. Not all the families have the same economic status. Some of the families will be rich, some of the family will be poor. So the income of a person or the income of a family affects the selection of food items. We have a common notion, belief that expensive foods are more nutritious, are more healthier than the low cheap foods, which is not correct. So we need to see the quality of the foods and we need to know the expenses of the food items. So let me take you one example. Iron is present in both sugar and jaggery. But when we consider the costs of sugar and jaggery, sugar is more expensive than jaggery. But iron is present in both sugar and jaggery. So we need to make a wise decision which food we should go for. Even low cost food are nutritious and are good for health. The fifth point is false myth. Because of the ignorance on the nutritional requirement for the individuals, because of the traditional belief, there are lots of false myths which hinders us from the selection of the food items. So it affects the selection of food items. One of the false myths, like we believe that skin diseases is caused by taking milk after eating fish, or rice eating leads to obesity. Of course, rice doesn't mean that it will not lead to obesity, but if we overconsume, it will affect our sugar levels also, blood glucose levels also. Fevers can be cured by missing meals. All these three myths does not have a scientific evidences. So without knowing or without having a scientific evidences, we should not make false promises to others. One of the common notions that I usually grow up is that a pregnant woman should not have papaya. That was one of the false myths that I believe when I grow up. So that kind of false myth we should not consider when there is no scientific evidences. The sixth point is effect of peer group. We all have friends, we all have colleagues, we all have acquaintances, we all have family, cousins and all. So friends and acquaintances greatly affect the food selection. Suppose if you go out for a picnic, or if we hang out in a bar, or if you go out for a coffee or in a restaurant and all, we start to eat foods like junk foods and fast food like noodles and pizza because your friends are eating. So that affects your food selections. In turn, it determines the nutritional status of your body. So we should know what kind of foods we need to have when we go out with our friends also. We should be decisive in what we choose. Another point is change of vegetarian to non-vegetarian. I'm not sure about you guys, but I have seen my friends where they were a vegetarian, but after I introduced my friends to certain few pieces of non-vegetarian, they changed their food habit. So food habit plays a very important role. One example is when we go out for further studies, when we change our location from one to another, we have to adapt the culture of the other states. So when we adapt the culture of the other state, we also have to adapt the food habit of that particular state. Then our food habit changes. Suppose a person from a northeastern state, like a rice eating person eating with lot of vegetables, boiled vegetables, goes to southern states of India. Then we adapt to having food items like idli, sambar, dosa, and also changing our food habit, changing our location, adapting to a new culture also affects the selection of the food items. The seventh point that affects the selection of food items is media. Information about nutrition through media. Nowadays, nutritional informations are translated through television, radio, and films. In earlier days, mostly it was television, radio, and film. But with the advances in technology nowadays, nutritional information are translated through Facebook also, Instagram, Twitter, and we also have WhatsApp. So if a person who is in charge of cooking for the family is wise and is good in decision making, he or she make use of the media. So after getting the information from the media, for the family, a person in charge for the family will know what kind of foods to select for the family so that the nutritional requirement is met for the family. One of the adverse effects of media is that it influences on children and adolescents, especially children, because in televisions and even in advertisements, the advertisements about the food products they make are very attractive, which is very tempting. Suppose in television advertisement, if the product like pizza or noodles or burger is being advertised in a very attractive, and something like which is very tasty and delicious in the pictures, then we wanted to have like in the coming weekend. So media also influences the selection of the food items. So especially on children and adolescents, on accepting food items such as soft drinks, candies, chocolates can be influenced. So we need to make a decision about the nutritional information that has been translated through the social media. Only then we will have we will be leading a very healthy lifestyle, and then our nutritional status will be met. So with all these, during this COVID-19 lockdown, we should also focus on what foods we need to eat. Not only we should also focus on studying. We should also focus on doing physical activity. So if you want to stay healthy and if we all want to stay away from this COVID-19, we need to have a balanced diet, including all the 5 food groups. Those 5 food groups are, I'll just repeat it, those 5 food groups are cereal, grains and products, pulses and legumes, milk and meat products, fruits and vegetables, fats and sugar. So if we consider all these 5 food group items in our daily meals, then we will be leading a healthy diet. So I wish and I hope that our students will be staying safe at home. Considering this balanced diet and these 5 food groups, let us not forget that being at home, we also need to have a healthy food. And thank you so much for tuning in.